Mr. Director, thanks for coming here. Let's try and clarify things just in terms of the organization. I've been in large organizations, and you have line operation authority, and then you have staff over here doing human resources and other types of things, and they are completely separate. Is that kind of what your testimony is when you were the Assistant Director for Correctional Programs? You were really outside of the line operational authority, and it wasn't your responsibility to be aware of exactly what was happening operationally within the prisons?
That is correct, Senator. I appreciate the opportunity to explain this. As a director of the agency, I'm overall responsible. The buck stops with me. However, our organization is very large. Assistant directors at the headquarters level are responsible for implementing policies and procedures. The operational daily oversight of a facility is the primary responsibility of the regional director, and more importantly, the CEO of that facility. So by analogy, let me make it like this. A prison is like a city. The warden would be like the mayor, responsible. If they have issues or need assistance, they report up to the regional director, who would be, in this case, by analogy, like a governor. The central office being like federal assistance. Without that information and requests coming up to us, we are not directly involved in that. We also have the approval of the deputy director or the director to get involved in those operational issues.
Okay, so again, I think that's clarified. Do you know generally when you first became aware of the problems in Atlanta? Because you've served in a bunch of other correctional facilities. When did it hit your radar screen?
It hit my radar screen when I took the action. We have a lot going on. We have lots of facilities. There's no possible way. That's why we have a delineation.
So when you became aware of it, you took immediate action in the summer of 2021.
Yes.
Okay. When was the first time have you ever heard the phrase "the Atlanta way"?
I heard that phrase when this became aware, and as we were getting reports back about that's how we determined that there was a cultural issue and a breakdown there, an obvious one. That's why we took the actions we did to reassign the leadership team.
So which members of the leadership team, you don't have to name names, I mean, give me the functions, who did you replace?
Well, we looked at all of the leadership team. We started with the warden and the executive leadership, and we certainly reassigned them for various reasons. And then the majority of the leadership team, all middle managers and above, because the obvious breakdown.
So are you talking about the mayor and his staff, or are you talking about the governor? And I'm using their analogy.
Yes.
I mean, did you replace anybody at the regional center?
The mayor and his staff. And according to the analogy, the regional director was due to mandatory retire in October. I made the decision to replace him with a new regional director approximately 5 months early. Okay.
As the chairman pointed out, though, you took those actions in the summer, didn't fix the problem. You're getting, and I'll take your word that you had not seen that letter from the judge, but in January 2022, it's still pretty shocking conditions at Atlanta. So how close were you monitoring the situation and the effectiveness of your corrective action?
Well, as I stated, Senator, that I made a visit there in April to ensure that things were...
April of 2022.
April of 2022. And this is an ongoing challenge at old facilities. The warden, I know, is on it. What I observed there was that they were addressing these issues. We have constant challenges every day. When we become aware of them, we address them. I would expect that when that letter came in, that the current warden, the permanent warden there, is addressing those issues immediately. And that's what we would expect at any facility.
So Ms. Whitehead, in her testimony, which you didn't hear, when she returned, she served in Atlanta in the early 1990s, came back, tail end of her career, and her testimony was that she was shocked at the conditions. And again, you've seen other prisons, you've been in different correctional facilities, you know how the procedures ought to work. When you first became aware of what was happening in Atlanta, what was your reaction?
Exactly as I stated, Senator, it's absolutely unacceptable. That's why we took the actions we did.
So again, you didn't hear the testimony. I was trying to determine who really was in charge. We kind of went through the regional directors, then there's basically 4 layers of line management, ending at the lieutenant. So you've got the warden, and you've got captains, and you've got, I guess, social workers, and then you've got the lieutenants. Then you have as I think she called them, those in the bargaining unit. So you have the union line employees. One of the conclusions of the 2020 report was that the lieutenant's office is not being held accountable and is in need of additional oversight. And then it talked about how there appears to be a great deal of animosity between line and executive staff. Again, having run organizations, I realize sometimes people at the top, information is being, it just doesn't filter up. I mean, I got that. People cover things up. They don't want to let the boss know, that type of thing. Do you have, having looked into this, do you have an analysis of what went so haywire? Why things were so wrong for so long in Atlanta? I mean, do you have, I mean, other than, I know you took care of some management team, but, was there a union component to this? Animosity between the union line staff and management?
Well, we do have a collective bargaining agreement, and the union does represent the line staff, but the issue, the breakdown that happened here, which was completely unacceptable, was the cultural issue there of line staff not being held accountable. A failure to follow policy is unacceptable. We have to have leaders and managers that enforce and hold people accountable. That's why we made the decision to remove the team, because they were obviously were not holding line staff who do the job accountable.
So so again, you got replace the warden, to replace captains?
I believe it was in the summer of 21, the captain, the associate warden, the captain who's considered the chief of police in that city, the associate warden were both removed from their positions because of their failures. The warden was eventually removed. Keep in mind that we have due process and we have to respect their rights too. We eventually removed the warden, so we had some actings. And then when I became aware of the overall cultural issue, which is completely unacceptable, we made a tough decision by removing the entire management team. These are all individuals. This was not people.
Does that include lieutenants and every, you got?
Yes.
So did you bring those in from other facilities then?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and when did you make that move?
It was ongoing. In fact, there may be some that are still. It's an ongoing process because we do have to make sure that our employees have rights. We're not doing this. We are following personnel guidelines.
So, if I have the indulgence of the chairman here, did you ever have an overall meeting with individuals in the in the bargaining unit, the line guards? Did you ever have did you ever meet with the lieutenants? I mean, what did you do, or were you just kind of talking to the warden and the captains when you went in there and did your analysis? I
did not. That occurred below me, the different meetings. When I toured in April, I walked around that facility and interacted with all staff. In fact, my goal was to meet and speak to as many staff as possible in an informal environment. I answered many questions. I got lots of questions, and I had lots of interactions. That's why I visited the facility. That, again,
so how long was your facility and how many times you visited it?
I'm sorry?
How long was your visit and how many times did you visit it?
That's the first time I visited there, and that was a day-long visit.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.